Hello, everyone. Welcome into your sports episode 147. Jam-packed episode. We're going to focus mainly on basketball and WWE Elimination Chamber happened this Saturday. Hopefully, you guys watched it. One of our longtime heroes, the great John Cena.
He's gone.
He may not be our heroes for too much longer during his last little stretch in the WWE. We'll talk about that. Plus, Mason lost another bad loss for Mason again this past Saturday. We'll talk about that. Plus, Eastern Conference. I know we're past the midseason, but we still got about 2 more months of NBA. We'll cover the Eastern Conference and tell you how we think things are going to look for the rest of these 2 months. So, with all that being said, guys, stay tuned. There is a little bit of NFL we do got to cover, so let's start there. First, I think this was Saturday, right? Debo Samuel's traded to the Commanders for a fifth rounder, right?
Yeah,
Lawrence.
fifth is actually insane.
Debo, to me, I don't think he had that good of a year considering Ayuk was out and Brandon Jennings was in and out the lineup too. So not a bad price to pay, but you think the Commanders would maybe go after a little bit better option like Cooper Kupp? What are your thoughts?
No, I think it's fair. I think it's a great trade because if you think about it, it's a fifth round pick, and no offense, but I'm probably getting a bum or a project player in the fifth round.
Yeah,
Debo Samuel isn't anything outstandingly special, but if all I have to do is give him up a fifth round pick, then I'm gonna do it like every day, all day. If you pay attention, like the Cowboys gave up a fourth round pick to the Carolina Panthers for Jonathan Mingo, and that dude was a certified bum far in the NFL. And Debo has shown hints of being an impactful player for the 49ers. And straight up, honestly, the element change that they can have with that team. I mean, the triple option is now. I mean, that's like on a college-only thing, but like the triple option is completely real. And it's not something you have to play. You don't have to do it every play. You can do it 4 times a game. It just makes it harder every time you see it to know what's going to be coming after you. But Daniels can run it. You got Eckler. You got Robinson. I think what it really points out is I think they want to diversify, and I don't know what I was saying diversify other than improve the running game that they have going on. Because personally, the running game it lacks a little something. I think Eckler's gotten to this point where he's a little old, but he is cheap, and Brian Robinson. I mean, he's all right. He's the definition of all right. But no offense, if I'm the Washington and I got this elite, a rookie elite quarterback, I got to bring some talent in. So I bring in Terry McLaurin. I already have Terry McLaurin, certified number 1. I give myself a pretty strong number 2. I mean, Debo Samuel's a pretty good number 2 if you look at his ability to change the field. Like I said, with the triple options now viable. He's still a decent stud wide receiver. I think it just kind of proves that they're gonna up their game of everything they have already, and I think one of the biggest picks they're gonna go for is a running back. So if nobody wants to take a shot on Genty first round and he's there end of the round, or maybe they want to trade up and get Genty, I feel like the Commanders going after a running back early and moving up to get one early is completely on the table. Because personally, I don't think Brian Robinson has done anything to prove that he's a stud and he's not going anywhere. And this is our guy for the rest of the season. He doesn't have enough in his arsenal to allow him to have that ability. I think if you can get some guy with speed, probably Scattaboo. I mean, he's probably going to be sitting pretty at the end of the first that they can pick up, and he gives you versatility in the running game, passing game. Maybe blocking might be a little sus, but that like I said, the triple option. If I get Scattaboo, well, I know that man can launch a ball down the field. So if I run a triple option, have Scattaboo go to the other outside, throw him a pitch, and then have him shoot that ball 50 yards in the field, he can do it. So offense really opens up, and I think they go after running back. Sorry, not sorry. I think that's their main objective early on, and then the rest of it's just going to be finding defensive players to fill depth spots. And if I had to guess, I would say any team that has a cornerback that's going to be out in the open market, just know the Commanders are calling. They're calling your guy immediately. As soon as free agency it gets open for them to make that call, their phone is ringing for them. Because if they can get a corner and stop all the bleeding on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's a dangerous team.
Yeah, I agree. Defense is definitely a need for them, especially defensive backs and stopping the runs. They need some D tackles. I know John Allen still on the trade block. I think Duron Payne is on the trading block as well, but I think they prefer to move on from John Allen. I think he's like 30, and he has a big cap hit. So I think preference is to move on from him first. I like the Debo trade from standpoint of it's a fifth rounder for a guy like a proven vet. Yeah, maybe he's not the same Debo, but maybe in this system you can get a little bit extra juice from him. So, instead of, I think this year he had 670 yards receiving and 136 yards rushing. Maybe you get that to 900 yards receiving and what's his name system? What's the OC's name? The old
Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, Kingsbury. Maybe Kingsbury can squeeze out 900 yards receiving and maybe 300 to 400 yards rushing, like you said. Get him in some option plays, some screens, just like some trickery, whatever trickery he might come up with. Yeah, that's probably an option, but I don't think we're going to see the old Debo. But a solid 3 receiver. I don't think he's a 2 anymore. I think they still need to go out there and find their 2. Because Scary Terry is a real deal. You saw what he did with an actual quarterback this year. So that man, he's actually scary going forward. So I expect them to, like you said, Lawrence, go running back and then they're going to go receiver because one of the receiving targets just got tagged today. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. T has officially been tagged. The tag deadline is tomorrow, but they tagged him on Monday it was around 2:30. So I'm still sitting at 80%. He gets signed long term. Now, knowing the Bengals and how they operate, maybe they learn from their prior ways and mistakes and they just get a deal that's fair to T. Maybe they stay stubborn and he plays on a tag and then they let him walk next year. But yeah, so it's either play on the tag, long-term extension, or tag and trade. Which one do you think is going to happen, Lawrence?
I don't see, unless he purely just denies playing with the Bengals because they tagged him again. I don't ever see them trading him, getting rid of him. I just see disgruntlement, building. But T. Higgins also seems like one of those guys that, like, regardless, I'm gonna go out there and play. Now, if we start noticing that every single week T. Higgins is injured and questionable, and doesn't play half the season because his knees got a little bit of a boo boo, I wouldn't be shocked about that either. Because I mean, honestly, he has every right to say, dang man, my knee's a little banged up, and then the coach is like, dog, that's just a bruise. He goes, yeah, but it's banged up. Kawhi Leonard, bro. I could see it happening. I mean, I think it's fair if he did say it too. I think he deserves to be paid. And honestly, it's one of those things where they're just kicking him down the road to try to keep what they have for as long as possible because of what they had to pay for the other two superstars on their offense and the defensive superstar they're going to have to keep and whatever other superstar is going to come into that room. He's just unfortunately I would say he's just the furthest down on the totem pole of a really good totem pole.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're kicking the can down the road. It's coming to bite them in the butt because they could have had this deal done 2 years ago, and he would be maybe $23-24 million average annual value. Now we're talking about $30 million. I think that's where they're going to settle. If they do get a deal, it's going to be around $30 million. I don't think they're willing to go 32, 33 like maybe the Patriots were, maybe the Commanders were, but I think 30 million is a fair value for both sides, considering the fact that T also is hurt every single year. It's hard to argue against like overpaying him when you are hurt every single year. So, but he deserves to get paid whatever his value is, which is 30 plus. He deserves it. So we'll see. NBA time, Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, some people might say, and it's definitely what we will call it this year because it's only legitimately 3 teams, Lawrence, you think that can probably make it out this conference. A fourth one is in there, and they're a pretender, but some people might sneak them in.
Whoa! Don't be calling the Pistons no pretenders now.
We'll start at the bottom. We're not going to spend too much time at the bottom, but let's go to the bottom. These the teams out the playoffs. We got the Sixers, we got the Nets, we got the Raptors, we got the Hornets, and we got the hometown Wiz. Now the Wiz, they're trying to capture the flag. No need to talk about them. Hornets, they're bad. Raptors, bad. Nets, bad. Sixers. Interesting case here where they need to tank Lawrence because I think if they finish. What is it? Is it 6th or 7th? They keep their pick. If they finish below that, they keep their pick. I think it's 6th. So it might be 7th actually. It's one of those 2 spots. So they are actively tanking. Joel, I think over the weekend is out for the season. Don't be surprised if Paul George is also ruled out soon because I think he's been playing with some injury all season and. It came out that he's like taking injections before games or something, like pain medicine or something, just to get through games. So a little scary there. So how do you feel about the Sixers this season and going forward? Because they're paying a lot of money to 2 old guys that are always hurt.
Well, what do you want to say? At this point in time, if I'm the 76ers, it's you just pack up everything. There's no need for Paul George to even be playing.
Yep.
I mean, he probably if things went the correct way, he's probably not even on the team next year. But he will be because he signed that deal. But it's now Maxey's team, in my personal opinion. Maxey is. I don't know. There were so many games where when Paul George is in there and Embiid's in there, they just don't let Maxey have the final play, the final shot. And we've kind of seen from Maxey that he has that dog mentality where he is good with the final shot. I don't know. Maybe it's because Embiid just thinks that it's his team. Like he was the whole process. But I think he's lost that moniker with the fact that he never plays.
Yeah.
I think I saw since he's been drafted, he's only played 60. He's only played 46%. 46%.
Yeah, he's missed almost 60% of his games.
Yeah. And I think it was 46% he's actually played in. And I don't think you can have the franchise guy in which he plays less than 50% of your games. He is now no longer your franchise guy. He's just some guy. Yeah, he may be really good, But at the end of the day, he's just some guy because he's never going to report to action when you need him to do his thing. He's just not going to be there for you. And honestly, there's no reason to keep that on your books. And to Philadelphia, you're sad because you're like 1 year removed from like, oh man, if we had just traded him, oh man, we could have probably gotten like a pool. Probably could have gotten a lot of stuff. Now you can't do anything because nobody's gonna want that. It's damaged goods because he just came off his MVP like season. He probably was the top of his value. Now he's the bottom of his value because nobody likes his attitude either. I mean, if the NBA on TNT guys are going to call him out for his attitude, well then if the moment they said something about it, it's over. They could in their own hands be career killers if they really wanted to. And I think some of the things they've said about Embiid could be construed as career killing for him. But if you're the 76ers, it might be time to try a new process.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be tough to do that. Obviously, they got to, tank and hope for the best this year to keep their pick. I think they will just because they're not good. Even when the three of them did play, they didn't play well. I don't think the team's constructed very well. It looked good on paper during the offseason. I actually had them ahead of New York in terms of just on paper. But, like, when you see them play, it's just the team's not constructed well. You pay two guys a lot of money that are constantly hurt. And you got a young superstar who, like you said, needs the ball. But because he has these two other guys that are proven, he has to he's like the last man on a totem pole, like in terms of who gets the ball last. Like he's last on that list. So ideally, you would rebuild around Tyrese Maxey, but it's just those two have their values tanked to the absolute bottom that they're not going to be moved on from. So. You just gotta run it back next year and maybe get a couple pieces in free agency and the draft and hope for the best. But I mean, when you hear stuff like the team is considering medical retirement at this same time next year, he's still not playing. Like, I mean, that's really serious. And you never want to see that from a player, but it's happened. Look at Greg Oden, Chris Bosh. Some guys who had a medical retire, Brandon Roy. So it's tough to hear, but you got like you said, Lawrence, you got to start a new process because this ain't it. The play-in guys, the Heatles, the Magic, the two Florida teams, the Hawks, and the Bulls. The play-in teams this year, no one in the play-in is going to make a deep run. All these teams are flawed. At least my perspective looking at it, these teams are flawed. Miami just doesn't have a good roster this year after moving on from Jimmy. The Magic are constantly hurt. Jalen Suggs, I think, is now out indefinitely. So that's a big blow for them. The Hawks, they don't have Jalen Johnson, and then they traded away Bogdanovich. So that's a big L for them. And then the Bulls traded away Levine. They let DeMar walk, and they only have Lonzo. So Lonzo and Giddey. So, any thoughts about the play-in teams?
Honestly, the Bulls are probably the most exciting of these play-in teams, just because of the young talent that comes out of nowhere on the Bulls on a night-to-night basis.
Yeah,
it's kind of exciting. The Hawks, I mean, they're just cruising at this point. They know nothing's coming out of the season. They I mean, honestly, it'll be interesting to see how many Hawks players are still playing game to game by the end of the season. Same as the Heat. Like you said earlier, they got a 9-man rotation tonight. I mean, at this point, it's going to be funny to see how many Heat players can even suit up by the end of the season. And if I was to actually say if there was any of these teams that could like make any kind of impact in the playoffs, I would probably give it to the Bulls and the Magic. Being such, I don't think Bulls get past the Magic because they would have to go through Orlando, and Orlando at home just kind of hits a little different. If it was a neutral site, I could see Bulls making a little bit of a shake. But I think Magic, clear. The two bottom feeders, 9 and 10. I don't think the Magic will be at number 8 to finish the season. I think it's probably going to be the Heat. And I'm not expecting a whole lot from many of these teams. And quite honestly, if I was a Heat fan, I personally would just want them to lose as much as possible, just so we can try to get a draft pick that's not too far down.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Heat have a top 15 protected pick, so I think if they fall into the play-in, if they fall into the 9-10 spot, then yeah, they would probably keep their pick. But they also have the Warriors top 10 protected pick, and the Warriors are playing pretty well with Jimmy now, so they'll probably get that pick from the Warriors. So they potentially could have 2 picks in the teens, which that'd be pretty good for them. Who knows what they can do for that? Next, I got the Pretenders. These 3 teams. Some might even say 4.
So when you say the Pretenders, the 3 teams you're talking about is the Knicks, Bucks, and Pacers, right? Because I know you ain't talking about the Pistons like that.
I'm definitely talking about the Bucks, Pacers, and Pistons, and some might even throw the Knicks in there because the Knicks, I think, are like what? I think they've only won 3 games against Boston, Cleveland, and the Thunder. So the top teams in the NBA, they've only won like 3 games, and they like lost like what 11 or 12. So I'm definitely throwing them in the pretender category. Lawrence, who are your pretenders in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I would say outside of the Cavs and Celtics, I'll be real. Everyone's a pretender. I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much people are gonna do. Third on. The only problem with the Knicks, and I saw it on this podcast, and they were talking about how if you look at the 3-man rotations, the 7 most 3-man rotations, they're all by the Knicks. Tibbs just uses his starting 5 just way. I would say his starting 6. Sorry, he just uses his top 6 way too often.
Way too much.
And it's not even like they don't have depth behind the top 6. Like they do. Whether or not he just doesn't trust them, I don't know. But it's kind of sad. Because Brunson with Cat and Hart. I mean, wasn't it the other day? Like that was the first time the Knicks players had a 30-10 from 2 players and since like 1964.
Something like that, yeah.
And it doesn't even matter because for whatever reason, whenever you play the good teams or even the average teams, they just don't really show up, especially against the good teams. But I digress. The Bucks, I think there's just something missing, and I think whenever Drew Holiday left, it's been pretty apparent that it's been missing, and I think it mainly comes down to the fact that like they're just all so old, and there is no defensive shutdown guy anymore. You can say like, oh yeah, but Brook Lopez is like he's a top defensive player every year. He only gets ranked top defensive player every year because of his name value. Like, it's not because of what he's actually producing out there anymore. Because what he's producing out there anymore is nothing exceptional. And then I don't know, Lillard. Ever since he came to the Bucks, he doesn't look like himself. And their coach is a fraud. At this point in time, I think things need to start being talked about that. He's got like a generational, and they call him a Greek freak for a reason, and he doesn't know how to win with them. Like this is an average team, a team that's top loaded like they are to be 34-25 is just an average team. Moving on, the Pacers. Honestly, I see the Pacers could make some noise, a little bit. But I feel like they're just still 1 year away. Like, they just need one more guy. And what they need is a guaranteed bucket getter. Because as much as you can love Halliburton, and we can talk about Halliburton, he, at the end of the day, is almost always going to be a pass-first guy. He's just really good at assists. I mean, that's just his bread and butter. He's good at it. But when this team is in desperate need for a bucket, you don't know who's going to be shooting that ball. You can probably assume that if Siakam can't back it down to the paint, well, he's not taking it. So there's just no one out on the wing, in my personal opinion, that is scaring anybody as your go-getter, bucket getter. And then
I agree.
Last but not least, we got the Pistons. Now, I think it's a little disrespectful to keep calling them pretenders because we got
they are
probably Coach of the Year on this team right now, okay? And you can't
no, Kenny Atkinson. No.
You can't be playing with no team that got Coach of the Year on it, okay? And you're going to say, oh, Kenny Atkinson, no. This team has 34 wins. And you look at the last 2 seasons, they didn't even add up to 34 wins. And we just saw this team like make a big leap from trash to not trash in one season. Come on. They didn't even change the roster that much from last season. There ain't a whole lot added. There's not a whole lot different. Yeah, they got a few bench players they didn't have from last year, but still, it's a young as hell team. They play really good at home. The other day, I told you they were going to beat the Celtics. You told me that was a dumb bet. They beat the shit out of the Celtics. I had to tell you to
with no Jaylen Brown
yourself. Even if Jaylen Brown, that ain't going to change nothing. They beat the Celtics by like 21. Jaylen Brown at best gets you 19, okay? Get that bum out of here, okay? The Pistons are going to shock some people. And if we got him here at a 6 seed, well, look at the face. They get to play the Knicks. And give me the Pistons to beat the Knicks. Give me the Pistons to beat the Knicks. Because the Pistons, if we're talking about one thing, is Pistons, they play high energy. By the time the postseason comes, those Knicks players aren't going to have any energy. They're going to be so drained from trying to chase down a 2nd seed or something, or keep their 3rd seed, that they're going to be too tired from playing 40 minutes a game.
Hey, I'm all for your little hyping the Pistons up, but it's all for nothing. Even the tired leg Knicks can beat them in 5 games in the first round.
Cap.
But I'll let you have your moment.
Nah, Pistons in 6.
I'm not going to add too much more. The Knicks, I think they fundamentally messed up trading for Mikal Bridges. It was like 5 picks, right? Like 4 unprotected. Like that's just insane. I think that really killed them.
For what they gave up and what the picks were, he doesn't add that much value.
No, I get it. He's a good young player, probably one of the best 3-and-D guys out there. But you could have easily found someone less. Someone probably less name-worthy, and probably someone that would give you maybe like a little less just in value, maybe like, I don't know, who could you gotten for less? I don't know, but to give up 5 picks for him is insane when Luka goes for 1 first rounder. And I think deals like that are just what kills the NBA, because then now every executive thinks that their player is worth 5 first rounders, when in reality these teams are just overpaying for no goddamn reason. So I think that fundamentally killed them. They got Mitchell Robinson back. I don't think he's going to help their problem. Cat is just the most picked on big man in the league, and it's not even close. I don't think Mitchell Robinson is going to help them. Like you said, they play too much minutes, and when they get into the playoffs, they're going to play even more minutes. They're going to be playing 45, 46 minutes, and that's when they're all going to break down. So, and like I said in the opener, they can't beat the top teams. So if you can't beat the top teams, what makes me think you're going to beat them in the playoffs? Going to the Bucks, I don't put this all on Doc Rivers. He inherited a bad roster. He tried to make it work. This roster was flawed the minute they traded Drew Holiday, and I said it, and nobody believed me. But now, 2 years later, they're in the same spot. Whether it was Adrian Griffin, I think Bud played coach 1 year without Drew, and he got fired. So, yeah, I think it's just a fundamentally flawed roster. They're all old, except for Giannis, and they try to inject a little life with Kyle Kuzma. It's not
He doesn't
really.
fit.
It's not really paying the dividends I thought it would at first. Because at first I thought it was like, it's a decent fit. But when you look at it now, a couple games in, it's like, it's not really how I thought it would go. So, expect Giannis to be moved sometime soon. And the Pacers and Pistons, yeah, they're a few years away. I think you're right about the Pacers. They're a player away. Like if they get a bona fide like running mate with Halliburton, because he's a 20 and 10 guy. Like he's gonna give you 20 points, he's gonna give you 10 assists. If they can give him a guy that's at least 25 points, like go bucket getter, I think that'll help them out a lot. So they're still a year away. Same with the Pistons. They need a couple more draft picks.
Okay,
Bickerstaff's doing a good year.
If we look at that, based on that, the top available free agents coming out next year, obviously one's LeBron, so we're not going there. Fred VanVleet, Kyrie Irving, James Harden,
yes.
Chris Middleton,
yes.
Julius Randle, John Collins. I'm not saying Brook Lopez because that's a bum. Clint Capella, Malcolm Brogdon, Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Tim Hardaway Jr., D'Angelo Russell. I mean, the fall off is pretty strong.
Yeah.
From pretty much Harden down, it goes pretty quick. I mean, honestly, Bruce Brown on the Pacers, I could see him doing damage, but he's coming off the bench.
He was already there. He was already there. Remember he was there and they traded him to the Raptors?
Yes.
He was a part of the Siakam deal. Yeah, I don't think I think nowadays it seems like free agency is all about trading players, so they're going to have to trade for somebody. I don't know who that's going to be, but they're going to have to trade for somebody. No one on this list moves the needle for. Who will they trade for? If they have the assets, go for KD.
I would say who they trading to get, whoever they're going to get.
I think they should trade for KD if they got the assets.
I mean,
have KD for a couple more.
No one disagrees with you, but the only problem with KD is I feel like KD wants to go to San Antonio.
That could work. I still don't think KD and Wemby is formidable. I think KD needs to go to a place with already established good players and a team with like depth. So who would that be? That'll be Miami. That'll be OKC. If the Knicks still had picks, I would say the Knicks, but I don't think the Knicks have any more of their first round picks available. So those are only like two teams, or three teams. The Pacers, I'm throwing them in there too. Only three teams I can really say.
If the Thunder really wanted their shot at KD, I just don't think that any other team has a chance once that comes up.
If they wanted him back, yeah, he'll go there. But if they don't want him back, like if they win the chip this year without it, like if they win this year, then they're not going to trade for him.
Oh, of course. But
I think even if they go to the Western Conference Finals, I don't think they trade for him because then they can just say, "Oh, we just another year. Chet plays another year. We won't be back in the same spot." So they will need to get bounced again in the second round for them to make a dramatic move like trading for KD. So
all right, I'm just waiting for your hating on the Pistons come. Okay.
I'm not talking about them. I said that.
No.
I ain't talking about them. I said they're like a couple years away. I said they're a couple years away. All right. That's all I got. Bickerstaff, great coach. Not coach of the year. That's going to Kenny Atkinson. The two top dogs, Celtics, Cavs. These are the only two teams I see coming out the East. Celtics are the champs, but the way the Cavs played coming back on Saturday, what was it, Friday or Saturday? When they were down 25-3, and then they came back, and then I mean, I'm torn. I'm really sold on the Cavs, but I know the Celtics all too well. So, what do you think, Lawrence?
Honestly, I think the Twin Tower effect. We haven't really noticed like imperfections in the regular season, which is
Yes.
something that every season they seem to get away with because they don't get called out and they don't get exploited. But for some reason, every time the postseason comes, that Twin Tower gets exposed. So I have a real hard time believing that the Cavs Twin Tower is not going to get exposed again. What is it? 2 postseasons that we've seen of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it, they're having a better season this year, but am I supposed to expect that it's not just going to rear its ugly head again when the postseason comes?
It's a fair assessment. They got a new coach, so I'm hoping that it doesn't. But I don't know. I got a good feeling about them this year.
I don't know. I still say it's gonna go through Boston. I think the Cavs keep the number 1 seed, and that'll all be hunky dory. But I still think everything goes through Boston, unless injuries prevent that. In injuries being, I think the massive one is if Drew Holiday doesn't play, full in the postseason, or Jaylen Brown doesn't play fully in the postseason, then I could see the Cavs turning the needle. But I think they're purposely resting their guys now for that playoff push. There is no need to expend the energy of all my guys on a night-to-night basis. I mean, I against certain teams, I should be able to go right out there with just Tatum and the rest of the lineup and get the job done. He should be able to make that happen. And for the most part, he has.
Yeah, I agree. We shall see. We got 2 more months left in the regular season. These are the 2 clear top dogs. Now in the West, we'll talk about them on Wednesday, next episode. We got a couple of people that might have something to say about coming out the West. So we'll talk about that on next episode. We still gotta go through talk about Mason. Another bad loss, Lawrence. Another slow start on Saturday. These slow starts, I've been saying it on the podcast. I've been saying it to you when we go to the games. These slow starts to kill Mason, and it finally happened. We lost to Duquesne, big time, real bad. We fought back in the second half. There was a point where we were playing really well with a certain lineup, and then on cue, Coach Skin changes said lineup, and then the bleeding just kept going. So, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. I don't understand the starting unit, and then you can call it the starting unit, but the starting unit plays like 4 minutes, then they're out. He pulls them out, and then he puts in the next round of guys, and that technically is the starting, or not the starting unit, but that is technically the mainstay unit. But I feel like he never really lets guys get their game going unless it's number 0. And for me, consistently, I've called Johnson a problem child. Personally, for me, it seems like he always gets like if 1 or 2 things doesn't go his way, he gets all in his own head, and he lets that affect him the rest of the game. I think it was the other night when we went, Haynes got fouled trying to pass him the ball. He was wide the hell open. I know there was only like 2 minutes left in the game, but you could just tell the rest of the game he just looked like he was grumpy. He had an attitude, and it's like, dude, What the? You're winning. Your teammate didn't. It's not even like he didn't want to pass you the ball. He got fouled trying to pass you the ball. Like, dude, like what do you need? Like, what do you need? Because obviously, whatever you think you need, you're not getting it here. So, like, let us know how to help you. To probably maybe or maybe not get you up out of here. I think the use of Zach Anderson in the lineup at all is bogus and dumb.
It's bogus.
I don't understand the purpose of him. I get maybe for defensive purposes, but he
don't
doesn't
even do that.
He doesn't pass the ball amazing. He doesn't get rebounds amazing. He there's nothing that he does amazing. I don't even know what the purpose of using him is. And then we got young guys that we don't even know if they're going to develop or not because they don't ever get to play. Being like Big.
Justin
we never
Big,
really see him. We never see him really get that much action. And then personally, it always feels like they try to go into the paint and work through their big guys a little too often, a little too much. And I feel like that takes the fluidity out of their team. You never get to see the guards really get going in some games because, just pass the ball into Haynes and he dribbles and he backs his ass up into the dude and then he tries to do this hook shot and then his shot is awful. Outside of dunking and cute, easy, wide open layups, he doesn't have much of a touch.
Yeah, touch around the rim is not really there.
You got I'm sorry, but when we were playing non-conference play, number 4 O'Connor, he was lighting it up. He looked good. Now, ever since we got to conference play, it's like he has the biggest leash in the world. He's never really allowed to go be himself. We don't ever. I get it. Maddox shot's not the best or anything, but I feel like Maddox needs to take more shots than he gets nowadays. It really personally feels like we've moved off Maddox completely. And there was a time and place at this season where he was our only bucket. and it's sad to say, when he finds if he just shoots from where he's good at shooting from, it's automatic. If he just, he's good at the mid-range, and he's good on the wings at the three-point line. Don't shoot no corner shots, you're not good at it. Don't shoot at the top of the key, you're not good at it. You have to shoot the three-pointer from the wing. If you're not shooting mid-range, you're shooting a 3-shot there. You're not shooting anywhere else because you just don't hit them. Sorry, not sorry. You got to shoot from the wing. That means you need to figure out how to get Haynes to put you a screen to get open in that spot. Or you need someone coming off a screen to pass you the ball to have you hit that shot. I don't know. I could go on and on about, we've seen this team enough times. Well, I could walk you through how certain guys need to get their shot. And another guy, like Woody Newton. What was it? The St. Louis game. That dude went 8 for 12 from threes. 8 for 12.
Mm-hmm.
Let him shoot it. Damn, dude. You don't just go 8 from 12 for no reason. It's in there. It's in his system. He has the ability to do it. I think we gotta let our guys get a little more loose. And besides going through the paint every time.
Yeah, where to start? Really, I think like I said, the starting lineups. No matter who it is, whatever team we play, the current starting lineup leads to slow starts, and it was gonna bite us in the butt one day. And it just turns out it was today or it was Saturday. Having to dig yourself.
Not 2 games in a row, but
no, we started slow against Fordham.
Yeah.
And in a couple games even before that, just slow starts where we have to dig ourselves out of. And we can do it against the bad teams, but we go against a decent team like Duquesne, and they're hot from 3, things are going their way, things aren't going our way, then we're going to lose. It's just simple as that. I'd rather have the best starting 5 out there versus just keep going with these same guys and you're just going to pull guys after 2-3 minutes. Like you're pulling O'Connor after 3 minutes. Granted, he had a bad turnover where he tried to go behind his back and he threw it out of bounds like an idiot. Hey, maybe you do deserve to get pulled after that, but it makes no sense why Billups isn't starting. He's up for A-10 Defensive Player of the Year. He has a good chance of winning it. This kid can play defense. We've seen it all season. Lawrence has called it out on many occasions how he's our Swiss Army knife. He does everything besides score. But if you need him to score, he'll score. He'll find a way to score. Like
he'll find a way to get
he's holding this
fouled.
thing together. If we're being honest about it, Billups is holding this thing together. And so the fact that he's not starting is pretty criminal. He's playing starters minutes. I don't see why he doesn't get the nod over Zach Anderson. Sorry, not sorry, bro, but you play scared, bro. Like, I watched this kid, like, he's scared to make a mistake because he's seeing O'Connor getting pulled. He's seeing Maddox getting pulled. He's like, oh shit, I'm not trying to get pulled. So he plays scared against Duquesne. He's grabbing rebounds and just like looking, who do I pass? Like, bro, you're like in the paint, just put it back up. Or he'll do the same post move and get stopped trying to go baseline, and then he panics. I'm like, this is obviously a player who's playing scared, and we don't need that. You're playing college basketball. Maybe I'm misinterpreting how you're playing, but he looks like he's playing scared, right? So he doesn't need to be starting, especially if he's only going to be playing 17 minutes. Throw your boy Billups in there. He deserves the starting nod. And you said it right, Lawrence. Like, some of these young guys have to play. Like, when Begg plays and gets into a rhythm, like, he's a decent player. Like, yeah, he's a freshman, but you got to see what he's going to be next year. You can't just keep playing these seniors over him. He's a guy that you have to look forward to next year. Like, you have to see, hey, do I have to go get another point guard, or can I rely on this guy for next year? Like, it's like very fundamental things that, like, as a young coach, like, Skin just has to learn, and he at this very moment is just very stubborn. And this is just from outside looking in, but like, he just looks very stubborn, pulling guys. They're not really getting into a rhythm. Yeah, we're kind of ahead of schedule. Like, we're 22 wins. Yeah, that's ahead of schedule. And like, my opinion, like, I didn't see this happening, but we lost a lot of games just because of some of the stubbornness. Like, we should be 24-5 or 25-3. Like, we should be, more wins than what we have. But bad loss. A bucket getter, Maddox he only had 5 shots. That's unacceptable. Like you said, Lawrence, like, at times he was the only guy that could get a bucket. So in a game like this where you needed a bucket because no one was really hitting anything, this is a game where I don't mind if Maddox chucks up shots because, hey, at least somebody's doing it.
But also, only shooting
that's pretty much my rant.
In today's basketball, shooting only 15 threes in the whole game is unacceptable as well. The other team made 15 threes. They made 15 threes. We shot 15
total
threes.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, you don't win games like that.
Yeah.
You can't. Not when everyone else can shoot threes.
Yeah.
And that's where it draws the line of, okay, well, who do we need to put in that can shoot those threes? Well, we've seen that Woody Newton can shoot those threes. We've seen that Beeg can shoot those threes. And honestly, like, I get it. He built most of this lineup using the transfer portal. I don't think you want to have to build your lineup year to year using the transfer portal. And no offense, but like,
that's just too much film to watch. Like, you're like watching film for so many guys, and you're not really focusing on like what you actually need. Yeah,
I mean, if you don't play Beeg, I mean, I get it. He played 11 minutes, but like, dog, he could be an offensive weapon for you. He needs to be playing more than 11 minutes. And no offense, but if you don't play more than 11 minutes, he probably walks to a different team. I mean, I wouldn't blame him. Like, damn, I was playing behind this bum named
not at all.
Zach Anderson. I was sitting on that bench with me and Jared Billups. And yeah, Billups is now like, playing in Spain or whatever. He wasn't that good, but he can play in Spain or whatever. He's over there playing in Spain. I was just sitting there on the bench playing 11 minutes a game, getting maybe 3 shots. Let's see how many he got. Well, he got 6 shots, but whenever I watch him, he gets like 3 shots. Like, I would walk. And I think the only reason he may or may not walk is because he's from Woodbridge, so.
Hey, true. He's a hometown kid. Good chance he'll stay unless he gets some playing time somewhere else. Enough about Mason. I'm tired of feeling mad about that game. We talked about it. John Cena turned heel. Saturday Elimination Chamber. How do we feel, Lawrence? I did not see this coming, even though we talked about this off air. WWE, Mr. H, The Rock kind of teased this in front of our own eyes. There's like the poster of like The Rock, Cena, I think Cody Rhodes. They put it on Twitter and like social media. That pretty much just like was hinting at this the whole time, and the fact that John Cena said after the Rumble that he's going to do what's best for business, aka I'm gonna team up with the final boss, the man who holds all the cards. How are we feeling? How are we feeling about Elimination Chamber, and how are we feeling about Cena his last couple months being the heel?
Well, listen, I didn't watch much of the Elimination Chamber, but I did get to see the aftermath of it, and I don't know, man. It's kind of rough. Like, ever since I was a kid, John Cena was all about that loyalty, that respect, that never give up attitude. To see him just change on a dime, I get it's fake, I get it. To see him change on a dime because The Rock told him to. Also, he can have another shot at another WWE championship. Like, dang, it's got me out here feeling some type of way, I might have to go sleep closer to my girl tonight, other than because, I don't know if I can do that, loyalty trust anymore, like, if John Cena, preached to me about loyalty, but right, like, how do I know my girl's gonna be loyal now,
Yeah, it was a tough watch. As a whole, the pay per view was awesome. I liked it. One of the better paid live events this year. But yeah, Cena, like one of our childhood goats. Like you said, loyalty, respect, hustle. Pinnacle of the WWE for the past couple years, man, and to see him sell out to The Rock, he even had a little some happen with him and The Rock back in the day, and see him side by side with The Rock, and randomly Travis Scott's there beating up Cody Rhodes as well. Like, I don't know how to feel. On one hand, Cena deserves to get the championship number 17. He deserves 17. He deserves that record, Lawrence. But the way he's going about it, like, you're gonna team up with The Rock. You're gonna have The Rock pull the strings for you instead of getting it, out the mud like you used to. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. We'll see more on the the 17th. So a couple, like, 2 more Mondays from now, he'll come back to Raw. He's still filming his movies and stuff. So very, very surprised. We'll see how Cody reacts. I don't know if Cody's appearing tonight, but he'll definitely probably appear Friday. He got his ass beat. They beat the hell out of him. They beat the hell out of him.
He kind of had it coming for a little bit, though.
Yeah, he did. And it's going to suck when Cody loses at WrestleMania. He loses his title, but this is all going to set up some storyline for him to kind of redeem himself and beat Cena. Maybe he beats Cena and wins it back. Maybe Cena loses it to somebody else. At some point, Cena's going to lose the title, whether it's to Cody or whoever else. He has to lose because he's retiring at the end of the year. So he's going to lose at some point, but for him to have 17 will probably mean a lot.
He technically doesn't have
and
to
this
lose.
Also kind of, this is a little future. He could just drop it, yeah.
Yeah, he could just.
It's also setting up a future storyline. What I think Roman is going to help Cody, or attempt to help Cody at WrestleMania, and this is going to put Roman versus The Rock kind of storyline into play. So, of course, The Rock is going to help Cena at WrestleMania. Cody's going to have to reach out to Roman to help him because Cody helped Roman during the whole Bloodline little storyline. So I think this is going to help set that up for next year's Rock versus Roman. What do you think?
I could definitely see it. I don't know. I kind of wish The Rock would kind of, say farewell as like Cena is.
Are you frozen?
There isn't much The Rock can do and or prove to us. I think I'm losing connection here. Yep. Yeah, nope, it's done.
Oh, shit is so. Looks like we lost Lawrence for that last little bit. But yeah, I think this sets up the storyline for the Rock versus Roman. And this is something that a lot of us have been waiting on. I think this is how they get that going, and hopefully it won't disappoint. I think the Rock still got one more match in him, probably 1 or 2 more matches, and hopefully the one versus Roman is one for the ages. But anything else, Lawrence, before we head on out?
No, I'm just glad I made it back because my internet just pooped out for a second. No, but like I was saying, I was
back up, but connectivity issues.
Yeah.
All right. With all that being said, guys, we'll catch you next episode, MTL Sports Podcast. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Spotify. All that good stuff. And we're going to head on out. Peace.